Tonight, day 2 on the election campaign trail, and we catch up with the leaders. Advocates are calling on the provincial government to do more when it comes to mammogram access. A recent Tesla crash highlights how electric cars can pose challenges for first responders.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, October the 2nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hi there, and thanks for watching. On day 2 of the election campaign, voters heard more promises, and the Saskatchewan Party and the NDP traded shots on the province's ability to attract and keep people. Adam Hunter has the details.
Saskatchewan Party leader Scott Moe was in Saskatoon Wednesday making his second election pledge, this time promising to increase the graduate retention program to a maximum of $24,000. The program allows post-secondary grads a tuition rebate if they work and live in the province after they're done school.
We need our students, we need our young people to stay here in Saskatchewan. We need to first create more opportunities for young people right here in our home province, and we need young people to believe that those opportunities exist right here at home for them.
Following Moe's announcement, the NDP held an impromptu press conference. Moe says the NDP would scrap the grad retention program if elected. Saskatoon Eastview NDP candidate Matt Love says that's not true. Love says the Sask party has not done enough to keep people in the province.
Well, he needs to face up to the facts that for the last 6 years, every quarter of every year for the last 6 years, more people have left this province than have moved here. And that's for one reason, as his failures as premier in this province.
Moe says the province is well positioned to offer more jobs than ever in the mining, oil and gas, and agriculture sectors.
The fact of the matter is that there are so many more opportunities here for young people today to build a career and to start a life in Saskatchewan. The graduate retention program is one of those incentives to keep people working and staying, our children and our future working and staying in a Saskatchewan community.
NDP leader Carla Beck spent her day in Prince Albert with 2 local NDP candidates. She says her party would scrap the Marshal Service and reinvest that money into RCMP and municipal forces and help those battling addictions.
We will never have enough police if we don't start to address the root causes of crime, such as mental health, addictions, people having a safe place to live, people having hope.
Beck and Moe were both asked about the cost of their platforms. The leaders say their promises will be fully costed and those numbers will be released soon. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
Meanwhile, the Saskatchewan United Party is hoping to gain traction. The party formed in 2022 and sits more conservative than the Saskatchewan Party. Saskatchewan United leader Jeff Romick says the party wants more fiscal responsibility. Their platform eliminates the gas tax and slashes PSD to 3%. They also plan to expand private health care to decrease wait times.
Our goal in this election is to win seats. Win as many, of course, that we can. But at the same time, we firmly believe that between the Sask party and the NDP, that there is a bunch of this province that is not being represented in the legislature. And so by having us there, by being on the opposition front, we're able to have the conversations and be able to steer the conversations and steer the different arguments and to represent a very significant portion of Saskatchewan residents.
Polling shows the United Party has the support of less than 4% of voters, but that could affect results in tight races between the 2 larger parties. Advocates for breast cancer detection and care are calling out the provincial government. They say the ball was dropped in preparing the healthcare system to accommodate breast health needs. Laura Sharpaletti explains.
Now we have these awful wait times. Now we're going to add more to the system that can't handle it. So we can't do it. Well, you have failed.
Jenny Dale is angry with the government of Saskatchewan. The breast cancer survivor has been advocating for early breast cancer detection. That includes testifying to the Federal Health Committee. Her big issue? The province's phased-in approach that drops the eligible age for mammograms from 50 to 40 years old. In January, women 47 to 49 are eligible, but the fourth and final stage will not be hit until mid-2026, and that's for women ages 40 to 42.
Saskatchewan has had a long time to prepare for this. They announced it in March, and previously it was in the Pathways publication that came out in 2020, a long time to find additional staff.
Dale says some women in their 40s will have cancer. Their survival may depend on detecting the cancer early, but other advocates are worried about the already overcapacity system.
Waiting it's horrific. Like, I went through it myself. Like, I would love for those women from 40 to 50 to be in there. If I'd have been in there, I might have been caught sooner, right? My cancer.
Vic says she hopes priority for screening and mammograms is given to breast cancer patients and survivors.
I just feel like those that are already in the system and are supposed to be getting those yearlies, they're waiting almost 2 years at this point right now, at least 18 months.
The main concern is staffing. Saskatchewan has had difficulty recruiting specialists in this area, like medical oncologists and medical radiology technicians. In a statement, the Ministry of Health and Saskatchewan Health Authority say they are working on a staffing plan to ensure they are able to meet the demand for the breast cancer screening program as it expands to include women from 40 to 49. Dense Breast Canada says going directly to students with incentives would help.
Put mammography into the curriculum. It's not into the curriculum right now. Do something with the tuition to make it attractive.
The SHA tells CBC that it recently funded 2 radiologists to attend a 6-month fellowship program to become specialized in breast imaging and intervention. One of those is already at work in Regina. The other is expected to start work in early 2025. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
The union representing healthcare workers in the province delivered postcards to the legislature today. The postcards were signed by 1,800 workers and members of the public. CUPE says the cards highlight the impacts of the rising cost of living, and they're calling for better pay, adequate work conditions, and an investment in recruitment and retention. The union president says he hopes that's included in the election campaigns.
So we are here today to tell our members, to tell the public that in this election cycle, we want them to make healthcare a priority. We cannot continue to live. We know our hospitals, our healthcare clinics are always on bypasses, and in order for us to have a real commitment to do something about healthcare, we must focus on retention. We must pay healthcare workers. Healthcare workers deserve to live in dignity. We cannot continue to have 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet.
He says he wants the province to come to the bargaining table to negotiate a fair deal. These workers have been without a contract since April of 2023. Minimum wage earners in Saskatchewan are getting a raise this month, up $1 to $15 per hour, but some say that's not enough. Shlok Shalani reports.
Saskatchewan's minimum wage may have increased $1, but it's still tied with Alberta to be the lowest in the country. Advocates say that the increase doesn't amount to much when you compare it with inflation.
It's been a decade or more now that people have been calling for a $15 an hour minimum wage, and while we're there, it's far too late. And the actual cost of a living wage nowadays is significantly higher.
The Regina Anti-Poverty Ministry says the minimum wage should be in line with the living wage. The Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives estimates that would be about $19 an hour. Advocates say the gap between the two forces people to make impossible decisions.
We regularly hear from folks who've had utilities cut off even though they're in full-time employment. So we know that the low minimum wage is hurtful.
In Canada, a person is living below the poverty line if their income is less than half of the median household income. So, the median income in Saskatchewan is over $72,000. Half of that would be roughly $36,000. And before tax, a person working 40 hours a week at the minimum wage would earn $31,000. That's assuming they don't lose any work days.
They have to increase our wage because it is hard to manage everything.
Sometimes I'm depressed because there are exams and I also do job also, and sometimes I forget to eat food or something.
And some people told me they're taking on extra shifts or more than one job.
It affects you mentally, physically, because your body is so drained from working too much. But like I would say, if they should put the students into consideration, everything will work out fine. And we have to keep pushing because that's the life, that's the life we live in.
The Canadian Federation for Independent Businesses is concerned that the wage increase will put more strain on small businesses and add to inflationary pressures.
The responsibility for addressing affordability challenges should not fall solely on to business owners. And I think the government needs to do a better job of helping to make food, rent, utilities, fuel more affordable for Saskatchewan residents. And like I said, avoid placing that burden solely on to business owners because they're already struggling.
The $1 increase was part of a 2022 government promise that included increases that year and in 2023. The province couldn't comment on any of these concerns because of restrictions associated with the Election Act after a provincial election was called this week. But the province had previously said that the increase was only one way to support workers in the province. Shlok Talati, CBC News, Regina.
We've been sharing stories from parents of neurodivergent kids who've been struggling to find daycare, and now Saskatchewan's largest childcare provider is weighing in. YMCA's of Saskatchewan says insufficient funding for inclusion is leaving childcare operators in a very difficult situation. In Regina, the CEO says 18 students are partnered with the government's Enhanced Accessibility Grant. Under that grant, no more than $2,000 a month is provided to help with the extra cost of supervising a child with high diverse needs. Steve Compton says the grant hasn't kept up with inflation, creating a $243,000 deficit for the Y.
Each EA child in our care is supported out-of-pocket direct expense by the YMCA for $13,500. So I think the concern becomes is that we don't want to be in a situation where we would ever have to turn children away that have more intensive needs or specialized care. But financially, it's very difficult.
Compton is hopeful that post-election the government will revisit the program and look at the long-term sustainability of it. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education says it continues to monitor the enhanced accessibility grants. Regina City Council will hold its final meeting next week before November's civic election. And today, the public got a preview of that meeting's focus. A plan to build a new aquatic centre has been in the works for years, but inflation has caused the cost to balloon by $85 million to a total of $245 million. Councillor Lori Bresciani has promised to bring a proposal next week that would change the scope. She wants to renovate the aging Lawson Aquatic Centre and keep costs down. But staff have warned that may put nearly $128 million in federal and provincial funding at risk, and some councillors have already pushed back.
The danger here is that we, instead of building one first-class 21st century pool that will last for 50 years and meet the 21st century needs of our young people, instead of doing that, we'll somehow get two second-rate pools.
City staff have recommended council take on more debt and a mill rate increase to afford the extra costs of the aquatic facility. That could mean a one-time increase of $26 for the average household or an increase of $12 a year to the average household spread over 5 years. A final decision will be made next Wednesday. I'll take a good long look at Saskatoon's Broadway Bridge and now start plotting how you'll get around if it's part of your daily commute, because starting in April, the Broadway Bridge, including the multi-use pathways on both sides, will fully close for about 7 months. There is a long list of work being done, including concrete deck repair and improvements to railings, arches, and pathways. Exact timelines are still in the works. We'll be back after the break. There are now close to 2,300 electric vehicles registered here in Saskatchewan, and all of them run on powerful battery packs. But as Dan Zakreski reports, it is presenting new challenges for first responders on their way to a crash scene.
The device I have with me is a demobilizing device. So what it'll do is essentially, for lack of a better term, it tells the vehicle it's being charged. So it takes, puts the parking brake on, puts it in park, tells it not to move.
Saskatoon firefighter Rob Hogan shows off the latest tool for first responders. It's designed for when police, paramedics, and firefighters go to a crash involving an electric vehicle. These tools are important because no first responder wants to get electrocuted by a car frame or come across a burning battery pack. And these cars pose other, more basic challenges, like where is the engine? And what the heck is this tag all about?
A lot of them quite often have a very clear marking of where the fire department can cut or not cut.
Once first responders make sure that the vehicles won't move, they go on to the next level, and that's to isolate those powerful batteries. Now, first responders now use computer tablets where they can call up detailed diagrams of all manner of cars and trucks. Now, the head of the province's Electrical Vehicle Association, who's also a first responder, says they'll be doing this research on their way to a crash.
Depending on the make and model of the car, you can look at the series of the vehicle as well, and you can piece by piece pull apart the layers of the vehicle, if you will, to look at the various elements of the drivetrain, the seat belt safety systems, the airbag systems, and things all related to that as well.
Poiter says that car makers are continuing to focus on creating safe cars and batteries, and first responders are continuing to refine how they deal with these sophisticated machines when they're in crashes. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Our greatest auto sale is on now.
Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. It is really giving fall vibes out there today.
Yeah, curl up with a book, with a
blankie.
Yeah, exactly.
Fire.
Couch, nice little
fire.
fire.
Don't curl up with a fire, but.
Yeah, don't do that, or don't put the blanket in the fire. Be safe. That's right, of course. It is fall, after all, and the temperatures out there really reflecting those cooler conditions that we are seeing across the province, and especially as you go further north, only managing those single digits for our daytime highs today. A little bit further into south and central, we did get up around 15, 16 degrees closer to the international border, but places like Regina and Saskatoon struggling to stay in double-digit temperature territory today. Not only did the temperatures kind of stay cooler, but we also had some pretty brisk northwesterly winds as well, so it made it feel even that much cooler. This afternoon, gusting 40 to 50 in many locations, really not just in south and central, but across the province as well. We have seen some snow flurries in parts of northern Saskatchewan through the overnight and into even the morning hours, as we've seen a little bit of that low pressure system, the remnants of it, move off into the Hudson Bay coast. But we did get some clearing a little bit through south and central today. I think we have a better shot at clear skies tomorrow, though, as we see an area of high pressure start to move in. Before then, we're seeing clear skies mostly overnight. Couple models picking up maybe a couple showers moving through southern Saskatchewan, and then by the morning hours, things really clearing out. The north, especially the far north, I think will still have some kind of lingering cloud cover and maybe some flurries even through sort of the morning hours, and then getting clearing into the afternoon. Friday, that high pressure moves out, and that brings through another band of some cloud cover that'll make it a partly cloudy day for much of south and central, and that is in advance of our next low pressure system that we are watching. And this one going to be bringing cloud cover to much of the province, some showers to west central areas and to the north early Saturday morning. Heavier rain, though, beginning as this system moves further eastward as we head into Saturday, but I think it'll pretty quickly move out for Sunday. Could bring some heavier amounts in parts of east central Saskatchewan, in between that 10 to maybe 20 millimeter range, less so as you're kind of further along the southern part of the province. For the north, we're looking for, again, probably 10 to maybe 15 millimeters at the most in central and eastern sections, especially closer to the Manitoba border. Winds will be a little bit gusty in the morning tomorrow before those die down as high pressure moves in. And I think Friday, before that next system arrives, the winds will be a bit lighter as well. So forecast breaks down like this. A bit of a breezy morning in Regina tomorrow. Again, temperature's not going to rebound all that much. Another chilly night before we get a real bump up in temperature on Friday before that system starts to move in Saturday, and then a return to well above seasonal conditions for the beginning of next week. For Saskatoon, yes, that's right. We may not even get into double digits tomorrow for the first time in quite a while. Might spend another night below freezing, but temperatures will rebound nicely. I think you'll catch kind of the edge of that system before, yes, those are 20-degree temperatures on the board once again, Sam.
The smile on your face.
Like a roller coaster we're riding here.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We've got more news after the break. Week 18 of the CFL schedule has the Saskatchewan Roughriders prepping for a game in Edmonton, but they're also thinking about potential playoff scenarios. A 2-game win streak has bumped the Riders into second place in the West standings. They are 1 point ahead of BC and have 3 games left, including 1 against the Lions and 1 against the Stamps. That means the Riders can control if they host a home playoff game, but they don't really want to talk about it just yet.
Ask me after the game. I think it'd be probably better suited for then, because you really haven't gone there yet. I mean, I know the scenario is if Hamilton loses and we win, but we don't control half of that. We just control our part, and so we're just going to do our part the best we can.
AJ Ouellette, Jacob Bramer, and Mitch Picton were all back to practice, albeit limited today. CJ Rivas also returned as a full participant, and this late in the season, they are really just trading places with other guys who are banged up, including Sean Bain Jr. and Raquel Armstead. Kickoff against the Elks on Saturday is at 5 o'clock. And they might have some rainy weather coming out of Edmonton.
They sure might. And if you're in northern Saskatchewan, you've had some snowy weather. This is one cool canine up in Fond du Lac. Yes, that is snow on the porch. Candace's husband taking this photo up there for us. You better get back inside. It's going to be a cold night once again, and tomorrow morning in Regina we'll be waking up to 3 degrees, a little bit of wind. That might feel closer to the freezing mark. We'll get to 9 by the noon hour, but those west winds a little bit breezy until about the afternoon. Saskatoon, we may drop below freezing overnight, and it'll be chilly at 8 a.m., 1 degree, getting up to 6 by the noon hour, and yes, maybe not even getting above 10 degrees for highs in that part of the province tomorrow, Sam.
I'm just excited to see Candace because Candace and Chris are friends of mine. So thanks for the photo, guys.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Candace.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask. You can subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.